The November rain pelted against the windshield of Sarah Mitchell's rental car as she navigated the familiar streets of Riverside Heights, a middle-class neighborhood in suburban Chicago. After 3 years of grueling work in Silicon Valley, she was finally coming home for Thanksgiving, and this time, she planned to stay for a while. The startup she'd helped build from the ground up had just been acquired, leaving her with enough money to take a sabbatical and figure out her next move. Sarah's fingers drummed against the steering wheel as she turned onto Maple Street. The old oak trees lining the road had grown taller, their remaining leaves clinging desperately to branches that swayed in the harsh wind. Everything looked smaller than she remembered, as if her memories had inflated the neighborhood to match the significance it held in her heart. The 2-story colonial house came into view, its blue shutters the same shade her mother had painted them 15 years ago. Sarah's chest tightened with a mixture of nostalgia and apprehension. Phone calls with her parents had become increasingly infrequent over the past year, reduced to hurried conversations between meetings and late-night coding sessions. But she was here now, ready to reconnect and spend quality time with family. She pulled into the driveway behind her father's aging Ford pickup and her mother's sedan. A car she didn't recognize, a flashy red BMW, sat in what used to be her spot near the garage. Sarah frowned but shrugged it off. Maybe they had guests for dinner. The front door opened before she could knock, and her mother, Linda Mitchell, appeared with arms wide open. "Sarah, oh sweetheart, you're finally here?" The embrace was warm but brief, and Sarah noticed the tension in her mother's shoulders. "Hi, Mom. It's good to be home." Sarah inhaled the familiar scent of her mother's lavender perfume mixed with something else. Was that fresh paint? Come in, come in! You must be exhausted from the flight." Linda ushered her inside, taking her rain-soaked jacket. "Your father's in the living room watching the game." The house smelled different. Beyond the usual aroma of her mother's cooking, there was something new, a cologne she didn't recognize, and the faint odor of cigarette smoke, which was strange since no one in her family smoked. "Dad!" Sarah called out as she entered the living room. Robert Mitchell looked up from his recliner, his face breaking into a genuine smile that crinkled the corners of his eyes. "There's my girl. Come here, kiddo." He stood to hug her, and Sarah melted into the familiar comfort of her father's embrace. At least some things hadn't changed. "How was the flight?" he asked, settling back into his chair and muting the television. "Long, but I'm just happy to be here. I've missed you guys so much." Sarah sank into the couch, kicking off her shoes. "So what's new?" Mom seems a little on edge. Her parents exchanged a glance that made Sarah's stomach flip. Before either could speak, footsteps thundered down the stairs, and a young man Sarah barely recognized appeared in the doorway. Her cousin Tyler had transformed from the scrawny teenager she remembered into a 22-year-old with a carefully groomed beard and designer clothes. "Sarah! Wow, look at you, all successful and stuff." Tyler's grin didn't quite reach his eyes. "Aunt Linda said you were coming today." "Tyler, what are you doing here?" Sarah stood, confusion evident in her voice. Last she'd heard, Tyler was supposed to be at college in Michigan. "Oh, I live here now." He said it casually, grabbing an apple from the bowl on the coffee table. "Didn't they tell you?" Sarah looked at her parents. Her mother was studying the carpet pattern with intense focus, while her father cleared his throat uncomfortably. "Live here? What do you mean?" A cold sensation crept up Sarah's spine. "Tyler's had a rough time." Linda finally spoke, her voice artificially bright. "He dropped out of college last semester, and Aunt Patricia couldn't handle him anymore. You know how she is with her new husband and everything, so we offered to let him stay here while he gets back on his feet." That's very generous of you." Sarah forced a smile. "So where is he sleeping? The guest room?" The silence that followed was deafening. Tyler actually smirked, taking a loud bite of his apple. "Actually, honey," her father began, his voice gentle but firm, "Tyler's in your room. We didn't think you'd be needing it anymore, what with your big job and life in California." The words hit Sarah like a physical blow. Her room, the sanctuary she'd counted on, with its window seat overlooking the backyard, her bookshelf still lined with childhood favorites and college textbooks, her desk where she'd written her first line of code. "You gave away my room?" Her voice came out smaller than intended. "Not gave away," Linda corrected quickly. "Tyler needed a proper space, and the guest room is so small. We moved your things to the basement. It's actually quite cozy down there. We fixed it up nice." "The basement," Sarah repeated flatly. The unfinished basement with its concrete floors and exposed pipes. The basement that flooded every spring and smelled perpetually of mildew. "It's actually pretty sick," Tyler chimed in, oblivious to or enjoying the tension. "I've got my whole gaming setup in there now. You should see it. I'm streaming on Twitch and everything. Making decent money, too. In my room." "Former room," Tyler corrected with a shrug. I mean, you abandoned it for 3 years. Can't expect them to keep it as a shrine forever. Tyler, Linda admonished, but her heart wasn't in it. Sarah felt heat rising to her cheeks. Abandoned. Is that how they saw it? She'd been working 18-hour days, sacrificing everything to build something meaningful, sending money home when her dad's hours got cut at the factory. And this was her homecoming? I need some air, Sarah announced, standing abruptly. I'm going for a walk. But dinner's almost ready, her mother protested. I made your favorite, pot roast with those little potatoes you like. I'll be back. Sarah grabbed her jacket and headed for the door, ignoring her mother's calls. The rain had tapered to a drizzle, and Sarah walked without direction, her mind spinning. She pulled out her phone and scrolled through her contacts, stopping at her best friend Megan's number. Sarah, are you home yet? Megan's cheerful voice was a balm to her frayed nerves. Yeah, I'm here. Can we meet up? I need to talk to someone sane. Oh, that bad already? Come to the coffee shop on Division. I can be there in 15. The grindhouse hadn't changed much. Same exposed brick walls, same mismatched furniture, same smell of roasted beans and cinnamon. Megan was already there, waving from a corner booth. Okay, spill, Megan said after they'd hugged and Sarah had ordered a large cappuccino. What happened? Sarah recounted the scene at home, watching Megan's expression shift from surprise to indignation. They gave your room to Tyler? That spoiled brat who crashed his car twice in high school and spent his college fund on cryptocurrency? Apparently. And get this, he's using it as a gaming room. My childhood bedroom is now his Twitch streaming studio. That's insane. What did you say? Nothing. I just left. I didn't trust myself to speak. Sarah stirred her coffee absently. The worst part is they didn't even tell me. I've been talking to them every few weeks, and not once did they mention that Tyler moved in or that they'd given him my room. Megan reached across the table to squeeze her hand. That's really messed up, Sarah. You have every right to be upset. Do I, though? I mean, I did leave. I've been gone for 3 years. To build a career. To make something of yourself. It's not like you ran off to join the circus. Megan's voice rose with indignation. You've been sending money home, visiting when you could. That's not abandonment. That's being an adult. Sarah's phone buzzed. A text from her mother. Where are you? Dinner's getting cold. Tyler's girlfriend is here and wants to meet you. His girlfriend is there for dinner too? Sarah showed Megan the text. Oh, this just gets better. Let me guess. She probably parks in your old spot by the garage. The red BMW I should have known. Sarah laughed bitterly. You know what the really pathetic part is? I've been homesick for months. I've been fantasizing about coming home, sleeping in my old bed, waking up to Mom's pancakes on Saturday morning. I turned down a job offer in New York because I wanted to come back here and figure out my next move close to family. What are you going to do? Sarah was quiet for a moment, sipping her cappuccino. Something had shifted inside her during the walk, a cold clarity settling over her initial hurt. I don't know yet. But I'm not sleeping in that basement. You can crash at my place as long as you need, Megan offered immediately. My roommate just moved out, so the spare room is all yours. Thanks, Meg. I might take you up on that. Sarah's phone buzzed again. Another text from her mother, then one from her father. She turned it face down on the table. You know what? Let them wait. Let Tyler entertain his girlfriend in my room while they eat my favorite dinner without me. They talked for another hour, Megan filling her in on local gossip and changes in the neighborhood. The Jacobsons had sold their house to a young family from Indiana. The old park had been renovated with new playground equipment. The local grocery store was now a Whole Foods. Speaking of real estate, Megan said casually, you know the Hendersons are selling, right? That beautiful Victorian 2 blocks from your parents? Really? I always loved that house. Market's actually pretty good right now. My cousin just bought a place near here for way less than she expected. Megan gave her a meaningful look. Just saying, with your tech money? Sarah laughed, the first genuine laugh since she'd arrived. Are you suggesting I buy a house out of spite? I'm suggesting you consider your options. You came back here to figure out your next move, right? Maybe this is the universe telling you to create your own space instead of trying to fit back into your old one. It was dark when Sarah finally returned to her parents' house. The red BMW was gone, but the lights were all on, and she could see figures moving in the kitchen through the window. She sat in her car for a moment, gathering her thoughts. Her phone had accumulated 12 texts and 4 missed calls. She scrolled through them, variations of worry, mild scolding, and one from Tyler. Mom saved us some pot roast. It's in the fridge. Sorry if I was a dick earlier. Sarah walked in to find her parents cleaning up the kitchen. The dining room table had been cleared, but she could see they'd used the good china, the set that only came out for special occasions. Sarah, thank goodness, her mother said. relief evident in her voice. We were worried sick. I told you I was going for a walk. I met up with Megan. For 3 hours? Your dinner is ruined. Linda gestured to a covered plate on the counter. I can heat it up for you. I'm not really hungry. Sarah leaned against the doorframe. So Tyler has a girlfriend? Ashley. Lovely girl. Pre-med at Northwestern. Her father dried a plate methodically. They've been together about 6 months. And she comes to family dinners now? Well, Tyler's part of the family. It's natural his girlfriend would join us sometimes. Linda's defensive tone was back. You could have met her if you'd stayed. Right. Sarah pushed off from the doorframe. I'm going to get my bags from the car and check out my new accommodations in the basement. Sarah? Honey, don't be like that. Her mother followed her to the door. We did our best with the situation. Tyler needed help, and we had space. You had space, Sarah agreed, turning to face her mother. My space. She retrieved her luggage and headed for the basement door, her parents trailing behind uncertainly. The wooden stairs creaked under her feet, and the familiar musty smell hit her immediately. Someone had indeed tried to make it livable. There was a futon against one wall, a small dresser, and a desk lamp on a card table. Boxes labeled Sarah's Things were stacked in the corner. We put down some area rugs, her mother offered hopefully. And there's a space heater for when it gets cold. Sarah set down her suitcase and turned to face her parents. They looked older than she remembered, her father's hair more gray than brown now, her mother's face lined with worries Sarah had missed from 3,000 miles away. Why didn't you tell me? She asked quietly. When Tyler moved in, when you gave him my room, why didn't you say anything? Her parents exchanged another of those loaded glances. We didn't want to upset you, her father finally said. You were so busy with your job, under so much stress. We figured it would be easier to tell you in person. Easier for who? Sarah's voice cracked slightly. Do you have any idea how this feels? Coming home to find I've been replaced? Replaced? Linda's eyes widened. Sarah, no, that's not. We could never replace you. Really? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like Tyler's doing a pretty good job. He's got my room, my place at the dinner table, family dinners with his girlfriend. That's not fair, her father interjected. Tyler's going through a hard time. He needs stability, guidance. We're just trying to help. And what about what I need? The words burst out before Sarah could stop them. I've been killing myself out there, Dad. 100-hour weeks. No social life, pouring everything into building something. And I did it. We sold the company, and I finally have a chance to breathe, to come home and figure out what's next. But there's no home to come back to, is there? This will always be your home, Linda insisted, tears forming in her eyes. No, Mom. This is Tyler's home now. I'm just the relative sleeping in the basement. Sarah picked up her suitcase. You know what? Megan offered me her spare room. I think I'll take her up on it. Don't be ridiculous, her father said sternly. You're not staying with Megan when you have a perfectly good bed here. Sarah looked pointedly at the futon, then back at her father. That's not a bed, Dad. That's what you offer a college friend who's crashing for a weekend, not your daughter who's coming home. She headed for the stairs, her parents' protests following her up. Tyler was in the kitchen, headphones on, bobbing his head to whatever was playing. He looked up as Sarah passed, pulling out one earbud. Hey, you're back. Mom save you that food? Sarah paused, studying her cousin. He seemed genuinely oblivious to the pain he'd caused, munching on leftover dinner rolls without a care in the world. Tyler, can I ask you something? Sure. What's up? Do you even think about the fact that you're in my room? That everything you're enjoying, the space, the privacy, the window overlooking the yard, was mine? Tyler shrugged, discomfort finally flickering across his face. I mean, you left. What were they supposed to do? Leave it empty forever? That's not practical. Practical, Sarah repeated. Right. Of course. She continued to her car, loading her suitcase back in the trunk. Her mother appeared at the front door, silhouetted against the warm light from inside. Sarah, please, let's talk about this. We just did talk, Mom, and I heard you loud and clear. Tyler needs stability and guidance. Well, I need respect and consideration. Call me when you figure out how to offer both. She drove away, watching her childhood home shrink in the rearview mirror. Her phone started ringing immediately, but she let it go to voicemail. Megan had texted her address and the code to the lockbox with the spare key. The drive gave her time to think. The hurt was still raw, but underneath it, something else was stirring. She'd spent 3 years proving herself in Silicon Valley, building something from nothing. Maybe it was time to apply those same skills to her personal life. As she pulled up to Megan's apartment complex, her phone buzzed with a notification from a real estate app she'd downloaded months ago, but never used. New listing in your area, it read. On impulse, she opened it. The Henderson house stared back at her from the screen. A beautiful Queen Anne Victorian with original hardwood floors, 4 bedrooms, and a wraparound porch. The price was steep, but not impossible. Not with her savings and the acquisition payout. Sarah sat in the car, engine off, staring at the listing. It was crazy. Impulsive. Probably the worst reason to buy a house. But as she looked at those photos, the sunny breakfast nook, the master bedroom with its bay window, the finished basement that could be a home office, she felt something she hadn't experienced since walking into her parents' house that afternoon. She felt like she could breathe. Her phone rang again. This time it was a number she didn't recognize. She almost didn't answer, but something made her swipe to accept. Hello? Ms. Mitchell? This is David Chen from Pinnacle Ventures. I know you just left the West Coast, but I wanted to reach out about an opportunity that might interest you. We're opening a Midwest office, and we need someone with your exact skill set to run it. The position would be based in Chicago, full autonomy to build the team and investment strategy. I realize the timing might not be ideal, but I wanted to put it on your radar. Sarah leaned back in the driver's seat, a small smile playing at her lips. Actually, Mr. Chen, your timing might be more perfect than you know. I'm very interested. When can we talk? As she wrapped up the call and headed into Megan's building, Sarah felt the first stirrings of a plan forming. Her family might have given away her room, but perhaps it was time to stop trying to fit into spaces that no longer served her. Perhaps it was time to build her own. The morning sun streamed through Megan's spare bedroom window, illuminating dust motes that danced in the air like tiny celebrations. Sarah had been awake since 5, her West Coast body clock still adjusting. But for the first time in months, she didn't immediately reach for her laptop. Instead, she sat cross-legged on the bed, studying the real estate listing for the Henderson house on her tablet. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 3,200 square feet. Built in 1894 but meticulously maintained. The kitchen had been renovated 5 years ago with professional-grade appliances. The basement was finished with its own entrance, perfect for a home office or rental unit. And that wraparound porch, Sarah could already picture herself there with morning coffee, watching the neighborhood wake up. Her phone buzzed. Another text from her mother. Honey, please come home. We need to talk. I'm making French toast. French toast. Her mother's peace offering of choice. Sarah deleted the message without responding and opened her email instead. David Chen had followed up their conversation with a formal offer letter. The numbers made her pause. Not quite Silicon Valley money, but generous for Chicago, with equity options and a signing bonus that would more than cover a down payment. A knock on the door interrupted her thoughts. Sarah, you awake? I made coffee. Come in, Meg. Megan entered carrying 2 steaming mugs, still in her pajamas. You know, I could hear you thinking through the walls. What's got your brain spinning at... She glanced at the clock. 6:45 in the morning? Sarah showed her the tablet. I'm going to buy it. Megan nearly spilled her coffee. The Henderson place? Are you serious? Dead serious. I've already emailed the listing agent to schedule a viewing this afternoon. Sarah took a sip of coffee, savoring the normalcy of the moment. And I got a job offer last night. A good one. I'd be running the Midwest office for a venture capital firm. Okay, slow down. 24 hours ago, you were planning a sabbatical, and now you're buying a house and taking a new job? 24 hours ago, I thought I had a home to come back to. Sarah's voice was steady, resolved. That illusion's been shattered, so I'm building something new. Something that's actually mine. Megan studied her friend's face. This isn't just about Tyler taking your room, is it? No, Sarah admitted. It's about patterns. My whole life, I've tried to fit into spaces other people created for me. The good daughter slot, the tech wunderkind role, the family member who sends money but doesn't make waves. And where has it gotten me? Sleeping in my friend's spare room while my dropout cousin lives in my childhood bedroom? When you put it like that, Megan settled on the edge of the bed. But buying a house is a huge decision. Especially that house. It's like 2 blocks from your parents. Exactly. A smile played at Sarah's lips. Close enough to make a point, far enough to maintain boundaries. Plus, it's a smart investment. This neighborhood is gentrifying fast. In 5 years, that house will be worth double what they're asking. And in the meantime? In the meantime, I'll have a home. A real home, not a futon in someone's basement. Sarah set down her tablet and met Megan's eyes. I need you to be honest with me. Is this crazy? Megan was quiet for a moment. Honestly, it's a little crazy, but it's also the most Sarah thing I've ever heard. You see a problem? You find a solution. Even if that solution involves buying a Victorian mansion out of spite. It's not spite, Sarah protested. It's strategic repositioning. They both laughed, and some of the tension Sarah had been carrying since yesterday afternoon began to ease. All right, strategist. What's your game plan? Sarah pulled up a note on her phone. House viewing at 2. Call with David Chen at 4 to negotiate final terms. Mortgage pre-approval application is already submitted. Thank God for excellent credit and a sizable down payment. If all goes well, I could have an accepted offer by end of week. And your parents? What about them? Sarah, you're going to buy a house 2 blocks away. They'll find out. Then they'll find out. Sarah's jaw set stubbornly. They made their choice when they gave Tyler my room without even telling me. Now I'm making mine. The rest of the morning passed in a blur of phone calls and emails. Sarah's financial advisor from California confirmed her portfolio was more than healthy enough for the purchase. The mortgage broker was optimistic about approval. David Chen was thrilled she was accepting the position and agreed to her requested start date in 3 weeks. By noon, Sarah had accomplished more than most people did in a week. She was changing into professional clothes for the house viewing when her phone rang. The caller ID showed her father. She let it go to voicemail, then listened to the message. Sarah, sweetheart, this has gone on long enough. Your mother's beside herself. Tyler feels terrible. He didn't realize you'd be so upset. Just come home and let's talk about this like adults. You're being ridiculous. Ridiculous. The word stung more than it should have. Sarah deleted the message and grabbed her purse. She had a house to see. The listing agent, a polished woman named Patricia Wong, was waiting on the front steps of the Henderson house. Ms. Mitchell, so wonderful to meet you. I have to say, when I got your email this morning, I was thrilled. This house deserves someone who appreciates its history. As Patricia unlocked the front door, Sarah felt her breath catch. The foyer was even more stunning than the photos. Original hardwood gleaming in the afternoon light, an elegant staircase curving up to the second floor, crown molding that had been lovingly preserved. The Hendersons bought this place in 1962, Patricia explained as they moved through the rooms. Raised 4 children here. They've taken incredible care of it, but they're ready to downsize, moving to a condo in Florida. Each room was better than the last. The living room had an original fireplace with intricate tile work. The dining room could easily seat 12. The kitchen was a chef's dream with its 6-burner stove and farmhouse sink. But it was the small room off the kitchen that made Sarah's decision. This was Mrs. Henderson's sewing room, Patricia said, opening the door to a sun-drenched space with built-in shelving and a window seat overlooking the garden. Though really, it could be anything. Home office, library, art studio. It's perfect, Sarah breathed. The room was everything her childhood bedroom had been and more. A sanctuary, a creative space, a room of her own that no one could take away. They continued the tour upstairs, where the master bedroom took up most of the front of the house, complete with an ensuite bathroom and walk-in closet. The other bedrooms were spacious and bright, each with unique architectural details. "Can we see the basement?" Sarah asked. "Of course. It's one of the home's best features." Patricia was right. The basement had been professionally finished with its own kitchen, bathroom, and separate entrance. The Hendersons' eldest son lived here for a few years after college, Patricia explained. It could be a rental unit, in-law suite, or just extra living space. Sarah nodded, already envisioning the possibilities. Home office for her new venture capital role, guest space for friends visiting from California, maybe even a rental income to offset the mortgage. As they returned to the main floor, Sarah noticed Patricia checking her phone with increasing frequency. "Is everything all right?" "Oh yes, it's just, we've had quite a bit of interest since the listing went live. Another couple is scheduled to view the house in an hour. And I've got 3 more appointments tomorrow." Sarah's stomach dropped. Of course. A house this beautiful in this neighborhood wouldn't last long. What are the sellers asking? Patricia named the price. Steep but fair for the market. They're motivated to move quickly. The right offer could have this wrapped up by Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving. 5 days away. Sarah thought of the family dinner she'd been looking forward to, now twisted into something uncomfortable and strange. "I'd like to make an offer." Patricia's professional composure slipped slightly. "Today? Right now, if possible. Full asking price. Inspection contingency only. Close in 30 days. Cash offer for 20% down. Mortgage pre-approval letter to follow by end of business today." That's wonderful. Let me call the seller's agent right away." Patricia stepped into the other room, her excited voice carrying through the walls. Sarah walked back to the sewing room, her future office, and gazed out at the garden. The trees were bare now, but she could imagine them in spring, full of blossoms. She could imagine a lot of things. Morning coffee on the porch, dinner parties in that gorgeous dining room, a life built on her own terms. Her phone buzzed. A text from Tyler. "Aunt Linda asked me to reach out. I know you're mad and I get it. The room thing was messed up, but family is family, right? Don't do something you'll regret." Something she'd regret. Like giving up MIT to attend a school closer to home when her mother got sick? Like sending money every month when her father's hours were cut? like putting her life on hold whenever family needed her, only to find they'd given her space to the first person who asked. Patricia returned, beaming. The sellers are very interested. They'd like to counter with a request for no inspection contingency given the cash offer and quick close. Sarah considered. It was a risk, but the house was clearly well maintained. Tell them I'll waive the inspection contingency if they include the window treatments and kitchen appliances in the sale. Brilliant. I'll relay that right away. While Patricia made another call, Sarah's phone rang again. This time it was her mother. Against her better judgment, she answered. Hi, Mom. Sarah, thank God. Where are you? Are you all right? I'm fine. Just handling some business. Business? What kind of business? Honey, please come home. We can work this out. I'll even ask Tyler to give you the room back if that's what it takes. Sarah almost laughed. You'll ask him? Mom, it's your house. The fact that you have to ask Tyler for permission to give me my own room back says everything. That's not what I meant. I know what you meant. Sarah watched Patricia through the doorway, nodding enthusiastically as she spoke on the phone. You meant that Tyler's feelings matter more than mine, that keeping him comfortable is more important than making me feel welcome. That's not true. We love you both equally. Actions speak louder than words, Mom. And your actions have been crystal clear. Patricia appeared in the doorway, giving a thumbs up. Sarah held up a finger, asking her to wait. I have to go, Sarah told her mother. I'll see you at Thanksgiving dinner, if I'm still invited, that is. Of course you're invited. Sarah, you're being… Sarah hung up before her mother could say ridiculous again. She turned to Patricia, who was practically vibrating with excitement. They accepted. Congratulations, Ms. Mitchell, you're buying a house. The next few hours blurred together, signing papers, wiring earnest money, coordinating with her mortgage broker. By the time Sarah met David Chen for their video call, she was exhausted but exhilarated. Sarah, great to see you. David's enthusiasm was infectious even through the laptop screen. I trust you've had time to review the offer. I have, and I'm ready to accept with a few modifications. Sarah had learned long ago that everything was negotiable. 20 minutes later, she had an additional week of vacation, a larger equity stake, and a commitment for an administrative assistant from day one. Excellent. I'll have HR send over the updated paperwork. We're thrilled to have you on board. The Chicago office is going to do amazing things with you at the helm. After they hung up, Sarah sat back in Megan's kitchen, letting the magnitude of the day sink in. In less than 12 hours, she'd committed to a new job and put an offer on a house. Her savings account would be significantly lighter, but her future felt infinitely brighter. Megan arrived home from work to find Sarah surrounded by paperwork and laptop screens. Please tell me you haven't bought the entire neighborhood. Just the one house. Sarah grinned. They accepted my offer. Holy shit. Sarah, you actually did it. Megan dropped her bags and hugged her friend. This calls for wine. Good wine. As Megan rummaged for a bottle, Sarah's phone lit up with notifications. Texts from her parents, missed calls from various aunts and uncles. The family gossip network had clearly been activated. They're going to freak out when they find out, Megan observed, pouring generous glasses of Pinot Noir. Let them. Sarah raised her glass. Here's to creating your own space when the world won't make room for you. They clinked glasses, and Sarah felt a surge of something she hadn't experienced in years. Not just hope, but agency. Control over her own narrative. Her phone rang again. This time, the caller ID surprised her. Mrs. Henderson. Hello? Ms. Mitchell? This is Dorothy Henderson. I hope I'm not calling too late. Not at all, Mrs. Henderson. How can I help you? Well, dear, I wanted to call personally to say how thrilled we are that you'll be buying our home. Patricia told us a bit about you, how you grew up in the neighborhood and have been working in California. It seems fitting that the house goes to someone with roots here. Sarah's throat tightened unexpectedly. Thank you. That means a lot. I also wanted to mention, Patricia said you were particularly taken with my sewing room. I'd be happy to leave some of the furniture if you'd like. The built-in desk and bookshelf were custom made by my late husband. It would make me happy to know they're being used. I would love that, Mrs. Henderson. Thank you. Wonderful. Oh, and dear, Patricia mentioned you're in venture capital. My granddaughter is starting a tech company. Something about sustainable packaging. Perhaps when you're settled, I could introduce you? Sarah smiled. Already, this house was opening doors she hadn't expected. I'd be honored. After they hung up, Sarah sat in comfortable silence with Megan, watching the sun set through the kitchen window. Her phone continued to buzz with messages from family, but she ignored them all. Tomorrow, she'd have to face the chaos she'd created. But tonight, she was exactly where she needed to be. You know what the best part is? Sarah said suddenly. What's that? I'm going to have a guest room. Multiple guest rooms. So when people visit, they'll have a proper place to stay. Not a futon in a basement that floods. Megan laughed. Is that a dig at my hospitality? because I'll have you know this fold-out couch is very comfortable. Your couch is perfect, I just mean... Sarah struggled to articulate the feeling. I want to be the kind of person who has space for others. Real space, not grudging accommodation. Does that make sense? It makes perfect sense. Megan squeezed her shoulder. You're not just buying a house, Sarah, you're building a life. As if to punctuate the moment, Sarah's phone rang once more. This time, it was a Chicago number she didn't recognize. Hello? Ms. Mitchell? This is James Park from Chase Home Lending. I have excellent news about your mortgage application. Given your financial profile and the size of your down payment, we're prepared to offer you our best rate with expedited processing. You could close by December 15th if you're interested. December 15th, 2.5 weeks. By Christmas, she'd be in her own home. That's wonderful news, Mr. Park. Please send over the paperwork. After handling the mortgage details, Sarah finally checked her messages. 17 texts, ranging from her mother's increasingly frantic pleas to her Aunt Patricia's attempts at mediation. The last one was from Tyler again. Family meeting tomorrow at 2. Be there. A family meeting, called by her dropout cousin who'd taken over her room. The irony wasn't lost on her. She typed out a response. Can't make it. Have appointments. Best of luck with the meeting. Then she turned off her phone, poured another glass of wine, and started sketching out furniture layouts for her new home. The Victorian had beautiful bones, but it would need her touch to truly come alive. She thought about color schemes for the office, debated between a sectional or traditional sofa for the living room, imagined the dinner parties she'd host in that spectacular dining room. You look happy, Megan observed. Like, genuinely happy. I haven't seen that look on your face in years. Sarah considered this. I think I forgot what it felt like to make choices just for me. Not for my parents' approval, not for family harmony, not to meet anyone else's expectations. Just what I want. And what you want is a 4-bedroom Victorian mansion. What I want is space. Room to breathe, to grow, to invite people in on my terms. Sarah pulled up photos of the house on her tablet again. You know what? I'm going to turn that basement apartment into the most amazing guest suite. Better than any 5-star hotel. Planning to run a bed and breakfast? No, but when friends visit from California or when my parents eventually come around, and they will, I want them to feel genuinely welcome, not tolerated or squeezed in, but wanted. The distinction mattered. Sarah had spent the last 24 hours feeling like an afterthought in her own family. She wouldn't inflict that feeling on anyone else. As the evening wore on, Sarah found herself thinking about the Hendersons, who'd raised 4 children in that house. All those birthday parties, holiday dinners, lazy Sunday mornings. The walls had absorbed decades of love and laughter. Now it would be her turn to add to that legacy. Her phone still silenced, lit up with one final message. She almost ignored it, but the sender caught her attention. Her high school friend Marcus, who worked in commercial real estate. Hey Sarah, heard through the grapevine you're back in town and making moves. Random question. Your parents still own that duplex on Riverside? If they ever want to sell, I have a client who's very interested in that area. Just thought I'd mention it. Welcome home. Sarah stared at the message. Her parents owned a duplex? Since when? What's wrong? Megan asked, noticing her expression. Marcus Chen just asked if my parents want to sell their duplex. What duplex? Megan frowned. You didn't know? They bought the Kroger place like 2 years ago. Your mom mentioned it at book club. Said it was their retirement investment or something. 2 years ago. When Sarah had been working 100-hour weeks, sending money home because her dad's hours had been cut. They'd bought an investment property and never mentioned it. They own a rental property, Sarah said slowly. They have rental income, equity, a whole other house, and they put me in the basement. The last piece of the puzzle clicked into place. This wasn't about space at all. It wasn't even really about Tyler. It was about how her family saw her, as someone who would always make do, always adjust, always put their needs first. Sarah, I'm fine. And surprisingly, she was. Actually, I'm better than fine. I'm free. She pulled up the photos of the Henderson house one more time, focusing on that sun-drenched sewing room. In 3 weeks, it would be hers. Not borrowed, not conditional on anyone else's approval, but hers. You know what? Sarah said, raising her nearly empty wine glass. Here's to Tyler. Megan looked startled. To Tyler? If he hadn't taken my room, I'd probably be there right now, settling back into old patterns, letting my parents manage my life. Instead, I'm buying a beautiful house and starting an amazing job. She grinned. So, yes, here's to Tyler. May he enjoy my childhood bedroom. He did me a favor. They clinked glasses one more time, and Sarah felt the last of her anger dissipate. She had too much to look forward to waste energy on resentment. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Her family would have opinions about her choices. The house purchase would have complications. The new job would demand everything she had to give. But tonight, sitting in her best friend's kitchen with good wine and better company, Sarah Mitchell was exactly where she belonged. In transition, in control, and in motion toward a future she was building with her own hands. Her phone lit up again. Another family text she wouldn't read until morning. Let them have their meeting, their discussions about what to do about Sarah. She had more important things to focus on, like whether to paint her new office sage green or celestial blue. Thanksgiving morning dawned crisp and bright, the kind of November day that made Chicago feel like a postcard. Sarah stood on the sidewalk in front of the Henderson house, her house pending closing, holding a cup of coffee from the corner cafe. The wraparound porch gleamed in the morning sun, and she could already picture the string lights she'd hang there, the rocking chairs where she'd sit on summer evenings. Her phone had been blessedly quiet since she'd blocked her family's numbers 2 days ago. The peace was temporary, she knew. Today she'd have to face them at Thanksgiving dinner. But first, she had a meeting with her contractor. Ms. Mitchell? A burly man in his 50s approached, extending a calloused hand. Tom Kowalski. Thanks for meeting me on a holiday. Thank you for making time. I know it's unusual, but I want to hit the ground running when I close. Tom's eyes lit up as they walked through the house, Sarah pointing out her vision for each room. Minor updates mostly, fresh paint, refinished floors, updated fixtures. The bones were too good to mess with. The basement apartment, though, Sarah said as they descended the stairs. I want that completely redone. New kitchen, spa-like bathroom, separate HVAC system. I want it to feel like a luxury retreat, not a basement. Tom took notes, occasionally whistling at her ideas. This is going to be something special. You planning to rent it out? Eventually, maybe. For now, it's for guests. Sarah ran her hand along the exposed brick wall. I want people to fight over who gets to stay down here. They spent another hour going through details, Tom promising preliminary estimates by Monday. As Sarah locked up and headed to her car, she noticed a familiar figure walking a small dog across the street. Mrs. Chen, her elderly neighbor from childhood, stopped in her tracks. Sarah Mitchell, is that you? Hi, Mrs. Chen. Sarah crossed the street to greet her properly. Happy Thanksgiving. What are you doing at the Henderson house? Oh, Mrs. Chen's eyes widened with understanding. You're the buyer Patricia mentioned. How wonderful. News traveled fast in the neighborhood. Sarah smiled. I'm excited to be coming back to the area. Your parents must be thrilled. To be having you so close again. Mrs. Chen's expression grew puzzled at Sarah's non-committal hum. You are telling them today, aren't you? At dinner? Something like that? Mrs. Chen seemed to sense the undercurrents. She'd lived next door to the Mitchells for 30 years. She'd probably noticed Sarah's absence and Tyler's presence. Well, I think it's wonderful. That house needs someone who'll love it properly. You must come for tea once you're settled. I'd like that. Sarah drove to Megan's apartment to change for dinner. She'd chosen her outfit carefully. A burgundy wrap dress that meant business, her grandmother's pearl necklace for armor, boots with enough heel to look Tyler in the eye. If she was walking into battle, she'd do it on her terms. You sure you don't want backup? Megan asked, watching Sarah apply lipstick with steady hands. I can crash dinner. Claim you invited me weeks ago. Thanks, but I need to do this alone. Sarah checked her reflection one last time. Besides, your mom would kill you if you missed her dinner for drama at mine. Fair point, but my phone's on if you need an extraction. The drive to her parents' house took 8 minutes. Sarah sat in her car for another 5, watching the house she'd grown up in. It looked smaller somehow, less significant. Just a house where people lived. Not the center of the universe she'd once believed it to be. Through the dining room window, she could see movement. Her mother setting the table with the good china. Her father adjusting the centerpiece. Normal Thanksgiving activities in a normal family home. Except nothing felt normal anymore. Sarah rang the doorbell instead of using her key. The statement wasn't lost on her mother, who answered with a brittle smile. Sarah, you came. Linda Mitchell looked like she'd aged years in 3 days. Come in, let me take your coat. Thanks. Sarah stepped inside, noting the familiar smells of turkey and pumpkin pie. The sounds of football from the living room. Some things hadn't changed. Sarah! Her Aunt Patricia emerged from the kitchen, Tyler's mother, wearing an apron and a determined expression. So good to see you, sweetheart. We've all been worried. No need to worry. I've been fine. Sarah accepted her aunt's hug but kept it brief. Can I help with anything? Just having you here is help enough. Her mother's voice was thick with emotion. Tyler's in the living room with Dad and Uncle Bill. Sarah made no move toward the living room. Actually, I need to talk to you first. Privately. Her mother and aunt exchanged glances. Of course. Patricia, would you mind checking the turkey? Aunt Patricia reluctantly returned to the kitchen, and Sarah followed her mother to the formal living room they rarely used. The furniture was pristine, protected by a life of disuse. Mom, I need to tell you something before dinner. Sarah sat on the edge of the sofa, back straight. I bought a house. Linda blinked. You… what? The Henderson place, 2 blocks over. I close in 3 weeks. But you just got here. You haven't even looked for jobs or… I have a job. I'm running the Midwest office for Pinnacle Ventures. I start in 2 weeks. Her mother sank into the opposite chair. When did all this happen? Over the past 3 days, while you were having family meetings about what to do with me. That's not what those meetings were about. Mom, Sarah's voice was gentle but firm. I didn't come here to argue. I came to tell you my news and have Thanksgiving dinner with my family. Can we do that? Linda's eyes filled with tears. You're really staying? In Chicago? Yes, but not here. Not with us. No, not with you. Sarah leaned forward. Mom, I love you, but I can't live in a basement while Tyler has my room. I can't pretend that's okay. It was never about choosing him over you. Then what was it about? Help me understand. Linda twisted her wedding ring, a nervous habit Sarah remembered from childhood. Tyler was falling apart, drinking too much, gambling away his tuition money. Patricia was at her wits' end. He needed structure, stability. He needed consequences, Sarah interrupted. Instead, you gave him my room. You weren't using it, because I was building a career, which, by the way, funded that new roof last year and Dad's truck repairs. Linda flinched. We never asked you for money. No, you just mentioned how tight things were every time we talked, how Dad's hours were cut, how the bills were piling up. What was I supposed to do? Ignore it? We appreciated your help. Did you? Because from where I sit, it looks like you took my money while planning to buy a rental property. Oh, yes, Sarah added at her mother's shocked expression. I know about the duplex. That's different. That's our retirement. Funded how? With the money you saved because I was covering your expenses? The silence stretched between them. Years of unspoken resentments finally given voice. Is that what this is about? Linda asked finally. Money? No, Mom, it's about respect. It's about consideration. It's about the fact that you gave away my room without telling me, then acted surprised when I was hurt. We were going to tell you… When? After I'd dragged my suitcases to the basement? After I'd discovered Tyler's gaming setup where my desk used to be? Sarah stood, smoothing her dress. You know what? It doesn't matter anymore. I have my own house now. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, and a basement apartment that I'm turning into a guest suite. A real guest suite, not a futon next to the water heater. Linda stood too, reaching for her daughter. Sarah, please, don't let this ruin our family. I'm not ruining anything. I'm building something new. Sarah moved toward the door. Should we join the others? I'm sure dinner's almost ready. The dining room was already filling when they entered. Her father looked up from carving the turkey, relief evident on his face. There she is. Sarah, honey, grab a seat. Tyler was at the table, his girlfriend Ashley beside him. He had the grace to look uncomfortable, fidgeting with his napkin. Uncle Bill and Aunt Patricia completed the group, everyone carefully avoiding eye contact. Sarah took the only empty chair, her old spot, but it felt different now, smaller, less significant. So, Uncle Bill boomed, attempting cheer. Linda tells us you're staying in town, Sarah. That's wonderful news. Yes, I've taken a position with a venture capital firm. Sarah accepted the mashed potatoes from Ashley with a polite smile. I'll be building their Midwest presence. Venture capital, Tyler muttered. Must be nice. Tyler? Aunt Patricia warned. What? I'm just saying some of us don't get handed cushy jobs. Sarah set down her fork carefully. You're right, Tyler. Some of us work 100-hour weeks for 3 years to build the experience. Some of us sacrifice our social lives, our health, our relationships to earn opportunities. And some of us drop out of college to become Twitch streamers in our cousin's childhood bedroom. Sarah! Her mother's voice was sharp. What? We're all thinking it. Sarah took a sip of wine. Tell me, Tyler, how's that streaming career going? Making enough to pay rent? Oh, wait, you don't pay rent. Tyler's face flushed. At least I didn't abandon my family. No, you just moved into mine. Enough! Robert Mitchell's voice cut through the tension. It's Thanksgiving. We're going to have a civilized dinner. An awkward silence fell. Ashley cleared her throat. The turkey is delicious, Mrs. Mitchell. Thank you, dear. Linda grasped at the lifeline. It's my mother's recipe. Conversation limped along. The weather, the Lions' chances this season, Ashley's medical school applications. Sarah participated minimally, observing the family dynamics she'd been blind to before. How her aunt deferred to Tyler constantly. how her parents walked on eggshells around him, how everyone seemed more concerned with his comfort than anyone else's. "So where are you staying?" "Sarah," Aunt Patricia asked during a lull, "I hear you've been at Megan's?" "For now, but I'll be moving soon." Sarah reached for the cranberry sauce. "I bought the Henderson house." The silence this time was deafening. Tyler actually dropped his fork. "You what?" her father said. "Bought the Henderson house." "I closed December 15th. Sarah kept her voice conversational. "It needs some updating, but the bones are incredible. Did you know it has original hardwood throughout? That's a huge house," her mother managed. "For one person. 4 bedrooms, 3 baths. Perfect for when I have guests?" Sarah smiled. "Of course, everyone will have to call ahead. I'd hate for someone to show up expecting a room only to find they've all been given away." Tyler had the decency to look away. "How can you afford that?" Aunt Patricia's voice was sharp. "Those houses go for—" "I'm aware of the price. As it happens, building a successful startup pays well, especially when it's acquired." Sarah turned to her aunt. "Not that anyone asked about my work these past 3 years." "We asked," her mother protested. "You asked if I was eating enough and when I was going to settle down. Not quite the same thing." "This is ridiculous," Tyler burst out. "You're seriously buying a mansion just to spite us?" "Spite you?" Sarah laughed. "Tyler, this isn't about you. This is about me building a life. The fact that you're so self-centered you think my major life decisions revolve around you says everything." "You're doing this to punish us," her mother said quietly. "No, Mom. I'm doing this because I want a home, a real home, where I'm welcome all the time, not just when it's convenient." Sarah looked around the table. "Do you know how it felt, coming back after 3 years to find I'd been erased? My room, my place at this table, my spot in this family, all given to someone else?" "We kept your things," her father said weakly. "In boxes, in the basement." Sarah shook her head. "Look, I'm not here to rehash this. I came to dinner because despite everything, you're my family. But I'm done pretending this is normal or okay. So what? You're just going to live 2 blocks away and lord your success over us?" Tyler's voice was bitter. "I'm going to live my life, work my job, build my future." Sarah met his gaze steadily. "Whether that makes you feel bad is your problem, not mine." "How dare you?" Aunt Patricia started. "How dare I what? Succeed? Buy property? Refuse to sleep in a basement?" Sarah's composure finally cracked. "You all gave my room to Tyler without a second thought. You bought an investment property while I sent money home. You had family meetings about me like I'm a problem to be solved. And now you're angry that I'm solving myself?" "Sarah, sweetheart," her father tried. "We love you. We've always been proud of you." "Have you?" "Because love looks like communication. Pride looks like interest in my achievements. What you've shown me is that I'm valuable when I'm useful and invisible when I'm not." "That's not true." "Then why didn't you tell me about Tyler moving in? Why didn't you mention the duplex? Why am I the last to know about everything that happens in this family?" No one had an answer. Ashley, who'd been silent throughout, suddenly spoke. "Maybe we should go, Tyler. This is a family thing." "No," Sarah said. "Stay. Finish your dinner. I'm the one who should go." "Sarah, no," her mother pleaded. "It's Thanksgiving. Please. And I'm thankful. Thankful for clarity. Thankful for the means to buy my own house. Thankful I don't have to depend on anyone else for a place to belong." Sarah stood, placing her napkin beside her barely touched plate. "Enjoy your dinner. Enjoy Tyler's company. Enjoy the family you've chosen." "We didn't choose," her father started. "You did, though. Every time you made a decision without me, every time you prioritized his comfort over mine, you chose." Sarah collected her purse. "I'll send you all invitations to the housewarming. Whether you come is up to you." She walked to the door, her family's voices rising behind her, some calling her back, others arguing among themselves. Sarah didn't stop. She'd said what needed saying. Outside, the November air was sharp and clean. Sarah sat in her car for a moment, hands shaking slightly from adrenaline. Her phone buzzed. Megan, checking in. Instead of texting back, Sarah drove to the Henderson house. She parked out front and sat on the porch steps, not caring about her nice dress. The house stood solid and welcoming in the fading afternoon light. Her house, her future. A text from her mother. "Please come back. We can work this out." Sarah deleted it and called Megan instead. "Hey, yeah, I left early. Want to get Chinese food and watch movies at your place? I have a lot to tell you." As she drove away, Sarah caught a glimpse of movement in her rearview mirror. Someone was standing at the corner. Tyler, from the looks of it, watching her. Let him watch. Let him see what building your own life looked like. Her phone rang. Her father. She let it go to voicemail, then listened. "Sarah, I don't know what to say, except I'm sorry. We handled this badly. All of it. You deserved better from us. I hope you'll give us a chance to make it right. Sarah saved the message. It was a start, maybe, but actions spoke louder than words, and she'd learned not to bank on promises from people who'd already let her down. Megan was waiting with wine and sympathy. That bad? That clarifying. Sarah kicked off her heels and sank into the couch. I told them about the house. And? About what you'd expect. Shock, anger, accusations of spite. Sarah accepted a glass of wine gratefully. Tyler thinks I'm doing it to punish them. Aren't you? Just a little? Sarah considered. You know what? Maybe at first. But sitting on that porch today, I realized something. This isn't about them anymore. It's about me, building something mine. Good for you. Megan clinked glasses with her. So what now? Now? Now I focus on the future. New job, new house, new chapter. Sarah pulled out her phone, scrolling to Tom the contractor's preliminary sketches. Want to help me pick paint colors? They spent the evening planning renovations, ordering too much Chinese food, and avoiding Sarah's increasingly frantic family texts. Tomorrow she'd have to deal with the fallout. But tonight, she was exactly where she needed to be, moving forward, not looking back. Her phone lit up with one final message, this one from an unknown number. She almost ignored it, then recognized Tyler's girlfriend's area code. Hi Sarah, this is Ashley. I got your number from Tyler's phone, sorry. I wanted to say I think what you're doing is brave. Tyler doesn't see it, but living in your room has been eating at him. He knows it's wrong. Your leaving tonight might be the wake-up call he needs. Also, that house you bought, it's gorgeous. I hope you'll be very happy there. Sarah read the message twice, then saved it. Maybe there was hope for Tyler yet, or maybe not. Either way, it wasn't her problem to solve. She had her own life to build, one thoughtful decision at a time. And it started with choosing the perfect shade of sage green for her office walls. The closing attorney's office smelled of leather and old paper, a combination that somehow made the moment feel more official. Sarah signed her name with a steady hand, each signature bringing her closer to a new chapter. December 15th had arrived faster than expected. 3 weeks of inspections, paperwork, and negotiations flying by in a blur. Congratulations, Ms. Mitchell. The attorney slid the keys across the polished table. You're now the owner of 412 Oak Street. Sarah picked up the keys, heavy, old-fashioned brass ones that felt substantial in her palm. Thank you. Patricia Wong beamed from across the table. The Hendersons wanted me to give you this. She handed over an envelope. They're already in Florida, but they said this was important. Sarah opened it carefully. Inside was a handwritten note and a small wrapped package. Dear Sarah, the note read, welcome home. We raised 4 children in this house, celebrated 40 anniversaries, and weathered every storm life threw at us within these walls. The house has good bones and better karma. Trust it to hold you through whatever comes. The enclosed is something we found during our final cleaning. We think it was meant to find its way to you. With warm wishes, Dorothy and James Henderson. P.S. The garden blooms magnificently in May. The previous owners planted over 200 bulbs. Consider it their gift to you. Inside the package was an old brass compass, tarnished with age but still functional. The inscription on the back read, True North is where the heart is. Sarah blinked back unexpected tears. She'd bought the house as a statement, a declaration of independence. She hadn't expected it to come with blessings. The drive to Oak Street felt different knowing it was hers. Every turn was a choice she'd made, every mile a step toward something new. She'd given her family space over the past 3 weeks, ignoring texts and sending calls to voicemail. Today felt like the right time to break that silence. She parked in her driveway, and sat for a moment, admiring the house in the afternoon light. Tom and his crew had worked miracles in record time. The exterior sparkled with fresh paint, the porch had been reinforced, and new storm windows gleamed. Inside, she knew, the transformation was even more dramatic. Her phone rang. Megan, did you close? Are you official? Should I bring champagne? Yes, and absolutely yes. Sarah laughed. Give me an hour to walk through, then come over. Bring Ryan if he's free. I want to show off. He wouldn't miss it. Sarah, I'm so proud of you. Thanks, Meg, for everything these past weeks. I couldn't have done it without you. That's what friends are for. Now go enjoy your moment. Walk through every room and gloat a little. You've earned it. Sarah unlocked the front door with her brass key, the lock turning smoothly. She stepped inside and gasped. The afternoon sun streamed through the restored windows, illuminating the refinished hardwood floors that gleamed like honey. The walls wore the soft, sophisticated colors she'd chosen, warm grays and creamy whites with subtle accent walls. The living room fireplace had been cleaned and restored, its tile work spectacular against the fresh paint. She moved through each room slowly, savoring the transformation. The kitchen cabinets had been painted a deep navy, complementing the original wood and new brass hardware. The dining room chandelier had been rewired and cleaned until it sparkled, but it was her office, the former sewing room, that made her breath catch. Tom had outdone himself. The built-in shelving had been restored to perfection, the window seat reupholstered in a soft green fabric that matched the walls. A vintage desk, refinished and polished, sat in the perfect spot to catch morning light. Mrs. Henderson had left it as promised, along with a small note. "May all your best ideas be born here." Sarah climbed the stairs, running her hand along the restored banister. The master bedroom was a sanctuary in soft blues and whites. The bathroom a spa-like retreat with its clawfoot tub and new fixtures. Each guest room had its own personality, one in sunny yellows, another in calming lavenders, the third in sophisticated grays. But it was the basement apartment that truly took her breath away. Tom had transformed the space into something from a design magazine. The exposed brick had been sealed and highlighted. The new kitchen was all modern lines and high-end appliances, and the bathroom featured a rainfall shower and heated floors. The living area was bright and welcoming, with its own fireplace and built-in bookshelves. French doors led to a private patio area. "No one's sleeping on a futon here," Sarah said aloud, her voice echoing slightly in the empty space. Her phone buzzed. A text from Tyler. "Heard you closed today. Congrats, I guess. Look, I wanted to say something." A second text followed. "Ashley made me realize some stuff. Right, I was a dick. I knew taking her room was wrong, but I did it anyway, Beck. It was easy. I'm moving out of her parents' place. Got a job in an apartment with some friends. Maybe we can talk sometime when we're ready. The room thing was fucked up. I'm sorry." Sarah read it twice, then saved it. Growth was possible, apparently, even for Tyler. She typed back, "Thank you for the apology. Good luck with the job and apartment." She was setting up her phone charger in the kitchen when another car pulled into the driveway. Not Megan's, her parents' sedan. Sarah watched through the window as her mother and father sat in the car, clearly arguing. Finally, her mother got out, holding a wrapped package. Her father followed reluctantly. Sarah met them at the door. "Mom? Dad? Hi, sweetheart." Her mother's eyes were bright with unshed tears. "We wondered, that is, we hoped. Could we come in? Just for a minute?" Sarah stepped aside. "Of course." They entered hesitantly, her mother gasping at the transformation. "Oh, Sarah, it's beautiful." "Thank you." Sarah led them to the living room, gesturing to the couch she'd had delivered that morning. "Can I get you anything? I don't have much yet, but there's water, and I think some soda in the fridge." "No, we're fine." Her father cleared his throat. "Sarah, we owe you an apology. Several apologies, actually." "Robert's right," her mother added quickly. "We handled everything badly. Tyler, the room, not telling you things. All of it." Sarah sat in the armchair across from them, waiting. "Tyler moved out last week," her father continued. "Told us he was ashamed of how he'd acted. Said you were right about everything. He apologized to me today, actually." "Good. That's good." Her mother twisted her hands in her lap. "Sarah, we never meant to make you feel replaced or unwanted. We were just trying to help Tyler, and we lost sight of me." Sarah finished gently. "You lost sight of me." "Yes." Tears spilled down Linda's cheeks. "Our successful, independent daughter who never seemed to need us. It was easier to focus on Tyler's crisis than acknowledge how much we missed you." "I needed you," Sarah said quietly. "I called every week hoping to hear you were proud of me, that you missed me, that my room was waiting whenever I wanted to come home. Instead, I heard about Bill's and Tyler's problems and how hard everything was. We were proud. We are proud." Her father leaned forward. "Sarah, you've accomplished more in 3 years than most people do in a lifetime. We just didn't know how to talk to you about it. You were living this big life we didn't understand, so you gave my room away. We made a mistake," her mother said firmly. "A terrible, hurtful mistake. We convinced ourselves you didn't need that connection to home anymore. We were wrong." They sat in silence for a moment. Finally, her mother held out the wrapped package. "We brought you a housewarming gift. It's not much, but..." Sarah unwrapped it carefully. Inside was a framed photo she'd never seen before, herself at age 5, sitting in the window seat of her old bedroom, reading a picture book with intense concentration. Beneath it was a brass nameplate. "Sarah's room. Always. Dad found it in the attic when we were packing Tyler's things," her mother explained. "We had your nameplate made. We thought, if you're willing, we could put it on the guest room door, so you know you always have a place with us, even if you don't need it." Sarah traced the photo with one finger. "You're turning my old room back into a guest room?" "Your room," her father corrected. It should never have been anyone else's. The tears came then, for all of them. Sarah moved to the couch, letting her parents embrace her, feeling the complicated knot of hurt and love that only family could create. "I'm not moving back," she said when they'd all composed themselves. "This is my home now." "We know." Her mother smiled through her tears. "And it's perfect for you. We're hoping, if you're willing, we could be part of your life here. Sunday dinners, maybe? Holidays? I'd like that." Sarah looked around her living room, imagining it full of people. "I'm having a housewarming party next month. Small, just close friends and family. Would you come?" "We'd be honored," her father said. They talked for another hour, catching up properly for the first time in years. Her parents asked real questions about her work, her plans, her vision for the house. They told her about the duplex. An investment for retirement, they insisted, not a lack of trust in her. "We should have told you," her mother admitted. "We were embarrassed, I think. Taking your money while planning for our future. It felt hypocritical." "It was hypocritical," Sarah said, but gently. "But I understand. Just, next time, talk to me. I'm your daughter, not your ATM or your absent relative. I want to be part of the family decisions." "Deal," her father said, standing. "We should let you get back to your day. This is a big moment. You should celebrate." At the door, her mother hugged her tightly. "I love you, Sarah. I'm sorry we lost sight of that for a while." "I love you too, Mom." After they left, Sarah stood in her doorway, watching their car disappear around the corner. The hurt wasn't gone. It might never fully disappear, but it had shifted into something manageable. They were trying. She could try too. Megan and Ryan arrived with champagne, flowers, and enough Thai food to feed an army. "Housewarming dinner?" Megan announced. "We're christening every room, starting with this gorgeous kitchen." They spread the feast on Sarah's new dining table, toasting with champagne in actual glasses instead of coffee mugs. Ryan, an architect, was full of praise for the restoration work. "You've got something special here," he said, admiring the original molding. "These old houses, they've got souls. You can feel it." "The Hendersons said it has good karma," Sarah told them about the note and compass. "I love that," Megan said. "A house with history, ready for new stories." Speaking of which, how did the parent visit go? "I saw their car." Sarah filled them in, showing them the framed photo. "It's not fixed, but it's a start. That's all you can ask for," Ryan said pragmatically. "Family's complicated. At least they're trying." After dinner, they toured every room, Megan taking pictures for the before and after album she insisted Sarah needed. In the basement apartment, she whistled appreciatively. "Okay, this is nicer than my actual apartment. You sure you don't want to rent it? You could make a fortune. Maybe eventually. For now, I want it available for guests. Real guests, not obligations." Sarah ran her hand along the exposed brick. "I want people to feel welcome here. Wanted, not tolerated." "Mission accomplished," Ryan said. "This place radiates welcome." They ended up on the front porch despite the cold, bundled in coats and passing around a bottle of wine. The street was quiet, porch lights twinkling on the other Victorian houses. "You know what I love most?" Sarah said, looking up at her house. "It's mine. Not conditionally mine. Not mine until someone needs it more. Just mine." "To Sarah," Megan raised the wine bottle, "and to creating your own space in the world." "To good friends," Sarah countered, "who let you crash on their couch while you figure your life out." "To new beginnings," Ryan added, "and old houses that know how to hold them." They drank, and Sarah felt the truth of it settle into her bones. This was a beginning. Not the one she'd imagined 3 weeks ago, but maybe the one she'd needed. Her phone buzzed. David Chen, her new boss. "Sarah, heard you closed today. Fantastic. The office space is ready whenever you are. Can't wait to have you on the team. P.S. My wife says a house needs a proper blessing. Expect dim sum delivery tomorrow." Then another text from Ashley. "Tyler showed me your text. He's really trying. The apartment is small, but it's his. I think losing your room woke him up. Thank you for responding to his apology. Also, can't wait to see the house. Tyler says it's the prettiest one on the street." Sarah smiled, tucking her phone away. Let the messages come. Let the world spin. She was home. Later, after Megan and Ryan left, Sarah walked through her house alone. She turned on lights in every room, watching the windows glow from the street. In her office, she sat at Mrs. Henderson's desk and opened her laptop. The venture capital work would start Monday, but tonight she had a different project. She opened a new document and typed, "The housewarming, Saturday, January 15th, 4 p.m. The invitation list came easily. Megan and Ryan, of course, her parents, a few close friends from California who'd promised to visit, David Chen and his wife, Mrs. Chen from down the street, even Tyler and Ashley. because growth deserved recognition. But first, one more name. She grabbed her phone and scrolled through her contacts. Mrs. Henderson? It's Sarah Mitchell. I'm calling from your old house. Yes, I'm all moved in. I wondered if you and Mr. Henderson might be free in January. I'm having a housewarming party, and it wouldn't feel right without you. Oh, wonderful. I'll send the details. Yes, the compass is perfect. It's on my desk right now. Thank you for everything. Sarah hung up and looked around her office. Tomorrow, she'd hang pictures. Next week, she'd start her new job. Next month, she'd fill this house with people who mattered. But tonight, she was exactly where she needed to be. In her own space, on her own terms, with her whole future spread out before her like the lights of the city beyond her window. She picked up the compass, watching the needle find true north. The inscription was right. True north was where the heart is. And her heart finally was home. Outside, snow began to fall, dusting the street in white. Sarah made herself tea in her beautiful kitchen, then curled up on her couch with a book she'd been meaning to read for months. No obligations, no expectations, no one else's timeline but her own. Her phone lit up with one final text of the night. Her mother. Drove by on our way home. Your windows look so warm and welcoming, like you. Sleep well in your new home, sweetheart. We love you. Sarah smiled, texting back. Love you too. See you Sunday for dinner? Wouldn't miss it. I'll bring dessert. Perfect. Good night, Mom. Sarah set her phone aside and picked up her book. This was what she'd been missing, she realized. Not just a room or a house, but the agency to choose, to decide who came in and when, to build relationships on mutual respect rather than obligation, to create space for others because she wanted to, not because she had to. The house settled around her with small sounds, the whisper of heat through the vents, the creak of old wood adjusting to new life. Good bones, the Hendersons had said, strong enough to weather any storm, just like her. As midnight approached, Sarah made one last tour of her house, turning off lights and checking locks. In the basement apartment, she paused, imagining future guests comfortable in the space she'd created for them. No futons, no apologies, no making do. Just genuine welcome. Back in her bedroom, she stood at the bay window, looking out at the snow-covered street. 3 weeks ago, she'd come home expecting one life and found another. The pain of that discovery had led her here, to this moment, in this house that was entirely hers. Her phone showed one last notification, a photo from Megan of Sarah on her porch that evening. Wine glass raised, face bright with possibility. The caption read, "Home looks good on you." Sarah saved the photo and got ready for bed. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, job responsibilities, house projects, the ongoing work of rebuilding family relationships. But tonight, she was simply Sarah Mitchell, homeowner, venture capitalist, and architect of her own future. As she turned off the bedside lamp, the brass compass caught the moonlight from the window. True north is where the heart is. Sarah smiled in the darkness. Her heart, her home, her choice. Everything else would follow. Epilogue. 6 months later, the June evening was perfect for a garden party. Sarah stood on her back deck, watching her guests mingle among the blooming flowers the previous owners had planted. The Hendersons were right. May had been spectacular, but June was proving even better. Sarah, David Chen's wife Linda, approached with a small wrapped gift. The house tour was wonderful. That basement apartment is stunning. Thank you. Actually, I wanted to talk to you about that. Sarah had been considering her options, and the Chen's daughter was starting graduate school at Northwestern in the fall. If Emma needs a place to stay, I'd be happy to rent it to her, below market rate for the right tenant. Linda's eyes widened. Really? Oh, Sarah, that would be amazing. She's been so stressed about finding housing. Send her by next week. If it feels like a good fit, it's hers. Sarah moved through her party, stopping to chat with each group. Her parents were by the dessert table, her mother proudly telling Mrs. Chen about Sarah's recent promotion. Tyler and Ashley sat with some of Sarah's work colleagues, Tyler animatedly discussing his new marketing job. He'd caught Sarah earlier to show her pictures of his apartment. Small, but neat, decorated with obvious pride. It's not much, he'd said, but it's mine. I get it now, you know? The whole earning your space thing. I'm proud of you, Sarah had told him, meaning it. It takes guts to start over. Yeah, well, I had a good example. He'd gestured at the house, at the party, at the life Sarah had built, even if I was too stubborn to see it at first. Now Sarah found herself in her favorite spot, the window seat in her office, compass in hand. Through the open door, she could hear laughter, conversation, the clink of glasses. Her house was full of people she'd chosen to include, relationships she'd intentionally cultivated. Megan appeared in the doorway. There you are, hiding at your own party? Just taking a moment? Sarah made room on the window seat, Is it weird that I keep waiting for something to go wrong? Like I'll wake up and be back in that basement? Not weird at all, but look around, Sarah, this is real. You built this. We built this, Sarah corrected. I couldn't have done any of it without you. That's what friends are for. Although, Megan grinned. I'm still waiting for you to let me move into that basement apartment. It really is nicer than my place. Sorry, promise to Emma Chen. But Sarah had been thinking about this too. I'm considering buying another property. The Victor's place on Maple is going on the market. Could be a good investment. Sarah Mitchell, real estate mogul? Sarah Mitchell, someone who understands the value of creating good spaces for people. She looked out at her garden where her father was laughing at something Tyler had said, where her mother was helping Ashley with grad school advice, where colleagues and neighbors and old friends created a tapestry of connection. Turns out when you build something real, something yours, it gives you room to include others properly. On your terms. On terms that work for everyone? Sarah stood, pulling Megan up with her. Come on, let's go be good hosts. They returned to the party as the sun set, stringing lights creating a magical glow in the garden. Sarah moved among her guests with the compass in her pocket, its weight a comfortable reminder. True north wasn't just where the heart was. It was where you chose to build it, brick by brick, choice by choice. Her phone buzzed with a text from a California friend who couldn't make it. The pictures look amazing. Save a guest room for me in August? Always, Sarah typed back. You know you're always welcome. And she meant it. That was the difference between space given freely and space taken for granted. In her house, everyone was welcome because she'd chosen to welcome them. No obligations, no guilt, no making do with less than they deserved. Just open doors and open hearts, on a foundation strong enough to hold them all. As the party continued into the evening, Sarah found herself back on the front porch where this journey had really begun. That night after Thanksgiving when she'd sat on these very steps, imagining a different future. Now that future was her present, and it was better than she'd dared to dream. Nice party. Tyler appeared beside her, Ashley's hand in his. Thanks for inviting us. Thanks for coming. I mean it, you know. The apology, the gratitude, all of it. He looked up at the house. You showed me what it means to stand on your own feet, even if you had to buy a whole house to do it. Sarah laughed. Sometimes you need a really big gesture to make your point. Message received. He squeezed Ashley's hand. We should go. Early shift tomorrow, but Sarah, I'm glad you came home. Even if it didn't go how anyone expected. Me too, Sarah said, surprising herself by meaning it. As the evening wound down and guests began to leave, each one thanked her for the hospitality, promised to return, made plans for future gatherings. Her parents were the last to go, helping her clean up despite her protests. Let us help, her mother insisted. It's what family does. And Sarah let them, because this too was growth, learning when to stand alone and when to accept support, when to hold boundaries and when to let them flex. Same time next Sunday? Her father asked as they prepared to leave. Wouldn't miss it, Sarah confirmed. I'm making that pot roast recipe you taught me. You learned it? YouTube is a wonderful thing. Sarah hugged them both. Drive safe. Text me when you get home. Look who's being the parent now, her mother teased, but her eyes were warm. Alone at last, Sarah walked through her house one more time. The empty glasses and party remnants were evidence of a life being fully lived. Tomorrow she'd clean up, head to the office, continue building her professional future. But tonight had been about something else, the personal foundation that made everything else possible. In her office, she picked up the compass one last time. The needle pointed steadily north, unwavering and true, just like the path she'd chosen, against all expectations and through all obstacles. Home. Not just a place, but a choice. Not just a house, but a haven. Not just walls and windows, but welcome and warmth, given freely from a place of abundance rather than obligation. Sarah Mitchell had come home to find her room given away. In response, she'd built something better, a life with room for everyone, starting with herself. And that, she thought as she headed up to bed in her beautiful house on Oak Street, was the best revenge of all. Not spite or anger or cutting people off, but creating something so wonderful that it transformed hurt into healing, loss into opportunity, a taken room into an entire home. True north, indeed.